Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sophie, but I'm better known as the Knit Purl Girl over on Instagram, Ravelry and here on YouTube. I am a full-time knitwear designer living and working in the south of England, and I'm back today with another monthly podcast talking about what I've been working on in the last month and general nice knitty things really. I've got three finished objects to talk about today and a couple of finished objects. I think once I finish filming this, I'm actually going to film a separate video talking about my kind of autumn winter knitting plans, because I've spent quite a lot of time this month planning ahead. So I'm looking at my whiteboard at the moment, which has some nice like doodle ideas on it. I've been making lots of swatches and I've been buying quite a lot of yarn, which shouldn't really be doing because I'm actively saving to buy a house at the moment, but whatever, it's fine. But yeah, it's been a really nice month. It was Unravel Autumn Festival a couple of weeks ago. How is that already? Yeah, time is absolutely flying this year. And that was really nice. It's always so nice to catch up with people, see new faces and catch up with old friends. We also had the Knit Night social on the Friday night of Unravel Festival, which was really fun. At least I had a great time. If you're watching this and you came, thank you. I hope you had fun too. The food was really nice, so I'm pleased about that. And yeah, it was a good time. Went to some really interesting talks whilst at Unravel as well by Georgia Farrell, who is a independent designer who works in close collaboration with Rowan. It was really interesting to hear her talk about like different approaches to colour and kind of her journey getting more comfortable with using colour in her design work. And also Charmaine from the young company Yarn Tings, and that's about her journey through kind of performance art and motherhood and knitting. It was just really interesting. I love Unravel Festival so much. I'm already looking forward to the February one, but it's not for a while, although I'm sure it will come around very quickly. I've also booked to go to H&H in Cologne in March of the new year, so that's going to be a good time as well. It's a trade show rather than a yarn show, so it's business to business, and looking forward to going. I went a couple of years ago, in 2024, and I didn't go this year just because, to be honest, post-wedding I was completely burnt out and was trying to save as much money as possible, but I think it will be interesting to go next year, so that's exciting. And I've also been knitting quite a lot, so it's been a really nice kind of happily busy month. Like, I haven't felt manic, I haven't felt like ooh as I sometimes do, but just been a nice time. So with that said, let's get into the details. I'll start as normal by talking about what I'm wearing, and this is the Juno Sweater Chunky. As always, if you've watched a lot of my podcast, you'll know that I always wear the pattern that I'm releasing that month. And as always, the information on discount and the launch will be down below. But this is the chunky version, and this is my second sample thereof. So it's a kind of drop shoulder construction, but not a European shoulder or kind of fully fashioned shoulder. You start working flat, and then you work increases around a central shoulder seam, so you've got the front and the back all in one piece, and then you work increases, do some neckline shaping, and then you join in the round, work some more shoulder shaping, and then you work flat again to work the front and the back yoke before you join the body in the round, and then pick up stitches for the sleeves. And then down the length of the sleeve there is this slip stitch detail, so you get this nice clean line all the way to the cuff. There's options for body shaping, which I did in my first chunky sample but didn't do in this sample or either of my DK weight samples. So the pattern has information for the chunky gauge and the DK gauge, but I'll talk about the DK version in just a sec. As I say, this is the chunky version, and for this one I used, one day I will have all of the yarn ready to go to when I film one of these, but today is not that day. So I used Isager Alpaca 3 in the shade Sky, and this is a 50% alpaca, 50% wool, kind of loose chain neck construction. The colour is really difficult to photograph, but my actual video camera does seem to be able to capture the colour quite nicely. It's very difficult to describe. I'd say the overall look is like a brownish mauve. I really like it actually. I think it suits me more than I expected it to. I'm not great in a lot of brown shades. I think they just make me look a bit tired. But I think where there's a little bit of purple in this and I've got green eyes, I think it kind of works with my colouring quite nicely. but it's got little bits of purple, pinkish, yellowish, brownish. It's beautiful. I really, really like it. And I held that with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the shade Plum Clay, which is a shade that I also really, really enjoyed working with. It looks quite dull on camera, but together I think they're really beautiful. This is what the fabric looks like a little bit closer up. I've worn this quite a few times. I've taken to wearing this to my yoga classes because it's nice and kind of comfy, and yeah, easy to wear with leggings because I made it a bit quite long. But it's been wearing quite well. I think I've probably worn this 5 times so far, so not a lot in all fairness, but I was expecting this to pill or shed or lose its shape quite dramatically because I don't really trust alpaca yarns despite using them fairly often. But I think when they're blended with wool, I don't seem to have issues with them. I don't tend to reach for 100% alpaca very often, but yeah, an alpaca wool blend, I think, I don't know why I say I think, I know that I really like them. So yeah, I enjoy this yarn combination more than I expected. It also has more stitch definition than I thought it would because, I mean, again, you can see that line of slip stitches really clearly, and where it's a chainette I-cordy yarn, I was worried that that would get a bit lost or a bit flattened, but I actually recommend this more than I recommend what I used for the original chunky sample, which is Erika Knight Pure Tweed, held with, I think I used Isager Silk Mohair for this, in like an off-white shade. Again, let me grab a hank so you can see what I'm talking about a bit more clearly. So that is Pure Tweed in the hank, and it's really, really beautiful. I think this is the same yarn as Isager Tweed, for what it's worth. I've said that before and I stand by it. This colour is gorgeous. This is, oh goodness me, what's it called? Well, I can't remember what the actual shade name is, but it's shade 4501, and it is this white yarn, but it's slightly pink toned, and it's got cyan, purple, orange, magenta, yellow, really lovely pretty colours, green, gorgeous yarn, and it has really lovely stitch definition. So again, you've got like the nice crisp slip stitch detail, but I don't actually love how stiff the fabric feels, and I think I was talking with the test knitters of the Juno Sweater before because there was a fit issue that they identified, and I think that this design works better with very, very drapey yarns because of how the back is constructed. So yeah, I've put a note about this in the pattern and in the listing. So whilst this yarn is gorgeous, I don't know actually how much I recommend it for this pattern. It's fine, it's absolutely fine and wearable, and if you've got your heart set on making it in this kind of yarn, it won't be problematic. I just wish I'd gone for Alpaca 3 for both samples because I just feel it sits so nicely and it fits me really well, and I enjoyed working with it a lot. So yeah, I think it's also cheaper, which is always nice. So yeah, that is what the first sample looks like, and basically the fit issue that was identified was that I had graded the back neck a little bit too narrow initially, and between that and then how the collar is constructed, some people were finding it was making a little hump at the back neck, and I don't think I have that in my samples. I think maybe slightly in this one, again where the yarn is stiffer. I spoke with my tech editor about it quite a lot, and I think we got there in the end. I feel very confident that it's been addressed, but I do think that yarn choice has an impact on this, and softer, drapier yarns are your friend here. And that brings me to my second finished object, which is my second DK weight sample. And that is what it looks like. This colour again is really, really difficult to capture on camera. It's kind of a, again, I just sound really vain here, but it's kind of the same colour as my eyes. It's like a bluish green, and it's really a lovely colour. It's got little flecks of red and purple and bright green through it. It is made with Isager Tweed in the shade Thunder and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the shade Dusty Aqua. Again, let me get the original yarns. So this is what Thunder looks like. I hope you can. Really pretty, quite dark, quite a lot darker than the actual fabric, and then that is Dusty Aqua. Only got a little bit left. So together they are quite high contrast, but the kind of tone is the same, and actually they're looking higher contrast in my viewfinder than they are in real life. But together they make this really pretty, slightly mild, kind of fabric, and you can see the undertone of Thunder really comes through, but the overtone of Dusty Aqua is very prominent as well. But I really like how this looks. The fit is exactly the same pretty much as the Chunky sample, but obviously because the fabric is lighter weight, it does sit a bit differently. For my first sample, I used the same yarn combination, so it was Isager Tweed and I think it was actually Isager Silk Mohair again. And this is in the shades Topaz and 41 or 45S, I can't remember. So that is Topaz, that is Thunder. They're quite similar colours. I think they might be next to each other on the shade card for this yarn. And I don't know, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for the second sample of my Juno DK, and I kind of thought I'm just going to go path of least resistance and just make a different colour one in the Isager Tweed because I really enjoyed it and I think it's worn surprisingly well. Like none of the tweedy bits have fallen out. Like they're still really, I've worn this sample a lot and all the tweeds are still really nicely enmeshed in the fabric. That is the shade of mohair that I chose, which is like just the most perfect icy sky blue. I really love this colour and I want to make something else just in this colour because I think it's beautiful. It's like slightly greyed out and desaturated. It's just gorgeous. I love it. And those are my finished Junos, so that's nice to have those out of the way quite quickly. I feel like that was quite efficient. Maybe not, but it felt like it from my perspective. So then my other finished object is the Dahlia Sweater, and that is what this looks like. This is another one made with Isager yarns actually. I've shown you this once or twice before, I think, maybe just once, I can't remember, but it's a raglan sweater with a lace motif running down the centre of the middle. It's got a slightly wider neckline than a lot of my previous raglan sweaters, and it's got this lovely, faux cable, mock cable, whatever you want to call them, and then just a very simple kind of floral lace motif. I used Isager Tweed and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the shade Clay Rose, I think. So I bought these from the Oxford Yarn Shop, I think in the spring. I bought it at the same time as I bought the yarn for my Chunky Juno actually. So it's quite satisfying to show them being used at the same time. And yeah, I love this sweater. I've worn this a fair bit already. I wore this to the Unravel Knit Night and it's just really, really nice. It's really easy to wear. I love the colour. I think this kind of blush colour is just really easy to wear and nice and neutral. And I really, really enjoyed the yarn combination. I used Isager Tweed held with other yarns for one of my Haze sweater samples, which I'll put here because I don't want to go and grab it because I'm being lazy. And it was nice to use it kind of as the main yarn in a yarn combination. I think something that Isager does really well as a brand is they offer a lot of different fingering weight, lace weight combinations, so you can get a fabric that is very customized to your preferences, which I think is great. It does make for an expensive fabric, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but yeah, this pairing was lovely. And again, I think the colour match is really nice. I've spoken before about how I struggle ordering Isager online. Like when I ordered this, I thought it was beige because in the listing it looks beige. I stand by it. But it worked out really nice. I think the stitch definition is really pretty, kind of from a distance. You just get this really nice, quite heavily textured look to it. It's a nice amount of fluff, nice amount of halo. I'm hoping you can see that in the sun. If you've watched a lot of podcasts, I've changed the angle of my camera just because the sunlight is really intense at the moment. I'm filming this around midday and the room that I film in is south facing. So the light is just really, really intense and the shower pumpers are going. It's not the easiest filming environment. But yeah, this is going into, by the time you see this, it'll have gone out to test. Again, if you ever want to be aware of my test knits, the best thing to do is to subscribe to my newsletter or follow me on Instagram. My newsletter, if you go to my website, you'll get prompted to join up. I don't send out a lot of emails, only about test knits and pattern launches, but I digress. Yeah, so that's the Dahlia. Really pleased with it. I kind of want to do a cardigan. I say this about all of my raglans. I'm like, I do need more cardigans too. I still haven't made very many. And then I get sidetracked by wanting to make different sweaters, so it never seems to happen. But I think this could be quite cool, having the lace separated and offset with the button band down the middle. I think that would be quite like Cezanne inspired. So maybe I will do that, but we'll see if I can actually motivate myself to get it done. Okay, I've got that much twinny left. I've got 2 hanks, 1 cake that I wound and 1 ball that I started using, but I've probably still got 2/3 left. So maybe I've got enough for a cardigan. Maybe that will happen because I don't really have any other plans for this yarn. So I'd need to get something to hold it with, but that's okay. That's something to think about. But yeah, those are all of my finished objects. So I will talk a bit now about my works in progress. I'll talk about this one first because I was working on it this morning and I'm feeling excited about it. So I finished the body of my Lucy cardigan, second sample. I haven't started work on any new designs this month. I've been thinking about it, and again I will probably talk about this, well, I definitely will talk about this a lot more in the other video that I'm going to film this month, or just in just a second. But yeah, I've been trying to sort out my works in progress drawer a bit because it had gotten quite messy. I keep my works in progress in here. So I frogged a bunch of projects that weren't working out for various reasons. So I've now just got like my Olive Sweater second sample and the Senon 4-ply, which I still haven't continued to work on. I just haven't felt like it. But yeah, I'm determined to kind of clear through my works in progress and then I can cast on a new batch of fun things. That's my incentive. So this just needs sleeves now. I did finished the button bands this morning and sewed on some buttons. The Lucy cardigan is coming out next month, along with a modified sweater version of the pattern as well. It's going to be like the Juno, it's going to be one listing, but you get 2 PDFs. Because I just think it is easier that way for everybody, really. Yeah, I need to order some more buttons, but that is what it looks like without the sleeves. It is a drop shoulder, modified drop shoulder. So there's some underarm shaping and that is what the back looks like. And I wanted to make a second cardigan sample because I wear the burgundy one I made a lot. So I'll picture here again, it's right there, I just cannot be bothered to go and get it. But the trouble with that sample where it is a darker colour is you can't see the detail very clearly in it, and it's actually quite a detail rich pattern. Like, before you start all of the rib there is a row of purl stitches, so that's it on the collar, and then also for the button bands there's like a row of purl stitches and then it's finished with some garter stitch, and also before the body rib. So yeah, you lose some of that detail with the darker coloured yarn. And I wanted to see what it looks like in a higher structured yarn. So the yarn that I used for that first sample is Purl by Gepard. And it's beautiful yarn. It pills quite a lot, but it's very soft, but it's also very floppy. Again, I'm just going to grab it. It's right at the top of the pile. I am just being lazy. That is what it looks like. And you can see it has a lot of drape. It's got a lot of movement compared with this, which sometimes I film this stuff and I feel so silly. This has a lot more jiggle than this, even if it doesn't show on camera. And I'm using Sanders Garden Pig again for this sample in the shade light grey tweed, I think. It looks like this. And it's a light grey yarn with some beige through it, with ochre, brown and plum burgundy bits of tweed. It's really, really nice. You'll know if you're a regular viewer that I love Sanders Garden Pig. It is my favourite yarn of all time. Desert Island yarn, and I was just curious really. I had a sweater quantity and I thought, well, this hasn't been like put aside for anything else, so why not? Buttons has been a little bit tricky with this. In my head, when I cast this on, where have they gone? I was planning to use these, so these are from Hobby. Around February or March I bought a bunch of buttons from Hobby, just because they're cheap and nice, and I just wanted to have them ready to go for when I next have relevant projects. And I thought some toggles might be nice, but they're a bit big, so these are quite dark, which I thought would go nicely with the kind of plum and brown bits of tweed. Like, I thought that could be quite smart, but they're just a bit big. I think if they were the size down, they'd be fine. But I also found they were a bit too stark against the light grey. So I was kind of sewing them on with a bit of light grey yarn left over from a different project, and it just didn't look right. And maybe I should have just used a dark yarn and it would have been fine, but I just wasn't sure. So I kind of had a look through my button stash, and I had these sparkly ones, which are actually from Petite Knit. They are for the April cardigan and the Maud tee, I think. I was going to say mode then, like mode as in mauve. But they're really nice, and I used these for my Aosta cardigan update a few years ago. I think that was early 2023 maybe, but that no longer fits me. It's a bit too big, so I repurposed them a while ago. I was like, no, that's fine, that doesn't need buttons anymore. That can just sit in my kind of vacuum packed knits and just wait for me to need it again. And I was like, yeah, it can go on these, because that was also an Andalusian stitch grey cardigan, and I thought, well, then I know it's going to look all right because it looked all right before. And I think they're really nice. Probably not quite my preference. I don't know what my preference is though, so they are fine. They're quite heavy. That is my only critique of them, because they are glass and metal. So they're very high quality. They feel really nice. But one thing that I really like about my first sample is that I can wear it open, and even though this is a really floppy yarn, the neckline is self-supporting. Like it doesn't just flop open. Helps if maybe I'll just show you. So yeah, I can just wear it like this and the neckline just stays in place. These buttons are also from Hobby, for what it's worth. They are the rosewood buttons and they're really lovely. I really recommend them. I have them again, but they're a bit smaller. I think they're the 10mm. These are the 20mm ones, I think, and the ones that I've got are 10mm, so they're just a bit too small for this project. But yeah, it sits really nice like this, and this is often how I wear this cardigan. You can see it wants to flop, and maybe it's the yarn choice because it is also doing that a little bit on this side. But I don't know, I kind of want this as like a jacket as well, kind of like a slip over, so I might make a third one because the body is quite quick to make. Andalusian stitch is a really satisfying stitch to work through. I think this looks quite cool. Maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I think it's going to be lovely. I'm looking forward to having this finished. I'm going to a couple of weddings in the spring, and I'm wondering if this might be quite nice to wear as like a jacket over the dress that I've got to wear to those weddings when the sleeves are on, because it's nice and neutral and a little bit jazzy with the buttons. But yeah, it looks really nice. It's got a split hem. It needs a good block, but it's going to be really cute. I'm very pleased with it so far. Sorry, I've been looking in the viewfinder a lot during this episode just because I'm in a new spot. I'm not used to seeing this background, and also my hair really needs cutting and dyeing, but I can't be bothered to sit in the hairdresser's chair for like 5 hours. I've got a really weak hairline, so it doesn't look like I've got a lot of hair, but I have a lot of hair around I've got a big head, I think, and it just takes so long. But I also kind of want to do like a big chop, but I can't decide, and like, oh, so I'm just gonna leave it until it gets too bad. Anyway. Okay, so the final thing that I have to talk about is my second Gwynfor sweater sample, and this is also going into testing as of today. So that's exciting. I'm using a colourful yarn for this sample. Let me grab the first one, because now that I've moved the Lucy cardigan, it is also just right there. So this is the first sample. This was made with, what's it called? Raw Wool Company Soft to Sea Mist DK, which I believe is now available again for pre-order, if not just for actual order. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It is the most beautiful yarn. If it's in your budget, treat yourself. It's wonderful. Really, really love it. Great for cables. So that is what the Gwynfor sweater looks like. Has the cable motif down the sleeves. If I can show you. Yeah, very fun to knit, very satisfying. I did have some issues with this sample in that I ran out of the DK weight version of the Soft to Sea Mist yarn, and it wasn't available at the time, and so I had to do a bit of panicking. I ended up ordering some from a previous batch, but it wasn't the same shade of white because the blend is different, so I ended up ordering the 4-ply weight version of this yarn, which was the same blend of fibres and therefore the same colour, but I had to hold it double, so the sleeves are, I guess, technically like an Aran weight, whereas the body is more of like a worsted heavy DK weight, I would say. But it's fine, it's perfectly wearable. You can't really tell from a distance. It's only, I think, if you were to, you know, really observe the stitches close up, you would see the difference and feel the difference. But that will not be an issue for sample 2 because I'm using a commercial yarn. So this is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the shade Dove Blue. It's a bit creased because it's been sat for a while, but I think it looks really beautiful. So I've obviously done the collar, which is double folded or just folded. I know that irks some people when people call it a double folded collar, not just a folded collar, and I get it from both perspectives. But it's a folded collar finished with a lateral braid, which I think is really beautiful and adds a little bit of a distinct barrier between the cable pattern and the rib. Really easy to work on, really easy to knit. It's kind of just mock cables and a couple of big cables every so often. Drop shoulder construction with, again, like a modified drop shoulder, so it's got underarm shaping. across all of the sizes. My pattern editor has helped, well, she's graded this because I was like, I just can't. I've got too much on, I can't. And she has been an absolute saint. I posted her the first sample and she was like measuring the width of the individual cables to make sure that the grading was as accurate to the cable pattern as possible. So Rebecca, you are a saint. I love you, you're brilliant. Yeah, this is what the yarn looks like in the ball. Really enjoying using it for cables. I think it's such a fun colour and it's just worked out really nicely. I'm very pleased with it. So I should have both of those pieces finished next month and a few more fun new cast-ons to talk about as well. So I feel like it's been a bit of a light episode this time, so sorry for that, but you will get a new video next week talking about like my kind of autumn winter plans and how I go about planning my projects as a designer. So yeah, hopefully that'll be quite fun and interesting. But thank you so much for watching as always. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them down below. Even if I don't reply, I will read them and feel guilty about not replying for the rest of the month. So that's good. So I will see you very soon and talk to you then. Bye.